were born to win. In my mind, there's absolutely no doubt about it. You were born to win. But in order to be the winner you were born to be, you must plan to win, you've got to prepare to win, and you must expect to win. And if you don't plan to win, and if you don't prepare to win, then you have no legitimate reason for expecting to win. That's what today is about. That's what this seminar is about. Planning to win and preparing to win and building within you that legitimate expectancy based on realistic observations, facts, and procedures that if you'll take the first two steps, you have every right to expect to win and become the winner you were born to be. I want to establish something here that's very important. And that simply is that you are what you are and where you are because of what's gone into your mind. Now you can change what you are. You can change where you are by changing what goes into your mind. Life is a long series of choices. And if we make enough of the right choices, we will end up with the right results. For example, for 24 years of my adult life, by choice, I weighed well over 200 pounds. Now, the reason I say by choice is simply because I have never accidentally eaten anything. I mean, it's always been by choice. And if I choose to eat too much today, then I have chosen to weigh too much tomorrow. If I choose to get drunk tonight, then I have chosen to feel miserable tomorrow. Every choice has an end result. Now you see, we can choose what we put into our mind. And when we choose the right thing to put in our mind, we have chosen the right thinking. We then have chosen the right actions, and the right action produces winners. Words paint pictures. Then the mind goes to work to complete the picture. Let me share something with you to emphasize the importance of input and expectancy in your mind. We had a young man a couple of years ago named Samuel Akwasi Sarpong. Now he's from the Ashanti tribe in the nation of Ghana. In his land, they name the babies, the children, based on the day of the week on which they're born. The fact that his name was Akwasi, now they have a couple of other names too. The fact that his name was Akwasi indicates that he was born on Sunday. Now, that simply in his language means godly, gentle, kind, and peace-loving. By coincidence, this young man was a Christian minister. Those who are born on Wednesday are named Kwaku. Now, Kwaku means mean, violent, aggressive, quick-tempered. By the strangest of coincidences, over 50% of all of the crime committed in the nation of Ghana is committed by those who are born on Wednesday. Sociologists say the only explanation they have is the fact that an expectancy is set up in the minds of the parents. Can't you just visualize the scene? Mom and Dad get the good news. They're going to have a baby. Can't you hear them just talking? Well, boy, I'm sure glad we're going to have us a baby, but boy, I hope that kid doesn't get here on Wednesday. And then can't you imagine little Kwaku shows up and the first time he drops the ball, can't you just hear old Dad saying, well, what do you expect? A kid is born on Wednesday. Expectancy, which is set up in the mind, is so critically important. Now, that's the reason the words you use, the language you use are so important, because of those pictures. For example, think of the picture that's painted in the mind of a child when the parent calls him stupid. Do you really think that makes them any smarter? Or does it have exactly the opposite effect? Bill Glass, good friend of mine. Bill is the former All-Pro end for the Cleveland Browns, and Bill does a lot of work in the prisons in America today, and he says that over 90% of the men and women who are incarcerated in our prisons today were repeatedly told by their parents one of these days, you are going to end up in jail. Well, ladies and gentlemen, thousands of years ago, the Bible said, as ye sow, so also shall you reap. To me, that's exciting. You are what you are and where you are because of what's gone into your mind. You can change what you are. You can change where you are by changing what goes into your mind. Dr. Campola says, and I'm absolutely in agreement with him, Dr. Campola says over and over that your past is important because it has brought you to where you are. But as important as your past is, as it relates to your present, it is not nearly as important as the way you see your future. You see, ladies and gentlemen, the way you see your future determines your thinking today. Your thinking today determines your performance today, and your performance today determines your future. Dr. Campola said, look, I understand about your past. I understand that you've had a bankruptcy. I understand that you've had a failed marriage. I understand that you've been chemically dependent. I understand that you were abused as a child. I understand all of those things. But let me say it over and over and over. That is in the past. Think of all of the times that Babe Ruth struck out. Think of all the incomplete passes that Roger Staubach threw. Think of all the sales that a super salesperson has missed, whether they live here in Salt Lake or Portland or Kansas City or Yazoo City. We've missed a lot of sales. So what? Failure is an event. It is not a person. In my own life, I was stone broke at age 45. My dad died when I was 5 years old. It was the heart of depression. I'd worked hard all of my life. I had been selling on the street since I was 8 years old. I was milking cows by the time I was 8 years old. We survived only because we had a mother with an enormous amount of faith and the capacity for a lot of hard work, an enormous amount of wisdom. Let me tell you what my good friend John Maxwell from San Diego, California says. John Maxwell says, and again I believe he's right, that if there is hope in the future, there is power in the present. Everything I do as an individual and everything we do as a company is to give you hope in that future. But at the same time, I've got to be absolutely candid with you and say to you that if you expect to win, you've got to understand the second principle that I will be espousing repeatedly today. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is that life is tough. I don't know what your experience with it has been. I don't know what you've discovered as you've gone about in the game of life. But I want you to clearly understand that life is tough. I want you to hear it over and over that whether you're a student in school, a salesperson, a household executive, whether you're in the military, the government, or whatever you do, life is tough. But even more significantly, I want you to clearly understand that when you're tough on yourself, life is going to be infinitely easier on you. I just want you to understand that you got to be before you can do, and you got to do before you can have. Now, the reason I emphasize that is this. The average 20-year-old American has witnessed 1 million television commercials. That's 50,000 a year. That's 1,000 a week. And those commercials, primarily 30 to 60 second ones, repeatedly say, you know, everything has a 30-second or a 60-second solution, but that's not what life is all about. The songs of today frequently sing, I want to be free. But folks, let me tell you something. You take the train off the tracks, it's absolutely free, but it cannot go anywhere. You take the steering wheel out of the automobile, it's under the direction and control of no one, but it can't go anywhere. Unless we take control, unless we set the direction in our life, then, ladies and gentlemen, if we do go anywhere, it's under the direction of someone else. But you got to understand, again, you got to be before you can do, and you got to do before you can have. Life is tough, But I'll say it again, when you're tough on yourself, life is going to be infinitely easier on you. Side of you, physically and mentally and spiritually, there is an incredible potential just screaming to get out. So important that we understand that. Important that we understand, though, that it's not easy, but that if you discipline yourself to do the things you need to do, when you need to do them, the day's going to come when you can do the things you want to do, when you want to do them. You see, if you had $1 million in your checking account, you would never write a check on it if you did not know it was there. But the moment you discovered its presence, then at that precise moment there would be a boom in the local economy. Now, what am I saying? I'm saying that when you go for standard of living first, that doesn't necessarily mean your quality of life is going to improve. But I can tell you, based on my own life, and based on the lives of literally thousands of other people whom I've read and studied, if you go for quality of life first, standard of living is invariably going to go up. My friend, please hear this. You see, the reality is you have some of all of these qualities. I can say that again without any fear of error. But I also will say this to you, that until and unless you recognize and accept that fact, then there's not going to be the use of those qualities that will enable you to be the complete success you are capable of being.